Thunder Bay Police Services had a police presence in the Thunder Center area yesterday between Fort William Road and Memorial Avenue. They have advised that there is no threat to public safety at that location and no further information is available at this time. Federal Minister Patty Hajdu has returned from New York after addressing the United Nations. The Minister of Jobs and Families presented Canada's national statement on the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals last Monday during day one of a high-level political forum.
We talked about a number of the different sustainable development goals and how our countries are doing, what we can do to accelerate the implementation of these goals. And in fact, I was pleased to find out that actually Thunder Bay is one of only 3 Canadian cities to have ever done a review of how at the municipal level we're implementing these sustainable development goals. So it was a little bit of hometown pride as I was talking about this.
The forum brought together UN countries to discuss strategies and the progress made towards the 17 goals, a collective call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and build an inclusive world for all. During the 3-day forum, Hajdu highlighted Canada's ongoing efforts to tackle poverty, promote environmental protection, and advance social inclusion.
I think it's a pretty cool experience to speak on behalf of Canada, especially when you're speaking at the front to the entire delegation of countries. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're representing your country in a good light, but also balancing the realities of the challenges that we have as a country as well. We're considered a very wealthy country at the United Nations, and I had a number of bilateral meetings with other countries, some of them developing, some of them very wealthy, to really establish our relationship in the world.
An iconic Canadian beer company is producing something a little less tipsy out of its taps to help those impacted by forest fires here in northwestern Ontario. Labatt Canada is shipping more than 30,000 cans of clean drinking water to the north with the help of the disaster response organization, Team Rubicon. CTV's Corey Nordstrom explains.
Labatt Breweries is swapping out the hops for H2O. The Canadian beer maker is nearly ready to ship over 34,000 cans of clean drinking water to Northern Ontarians impacted by wildfires.
One of the biggest issues when disaster strikes is a lack of clean drinking water. And so for us at Labatt, we have the resources, we have the expertise, and it's all part of us giving back to these communities.
It's an effort Labatt has undertaken since 2012, partnering with disaster response specialist Team Rubicon in 2021. The company periodically fills these cans with drinking water, and the amount being shipped to Northern Ontario represents 3 hours worth of full production. Later this week, the delivery truck will make its way from Halifax to Ontario before heading to evacuees and firefighters.
We do expect to get the delivery sometime Thursday, and then we are hopeful that we can get it on our trucks as early as Friday to start moving it to Northern Ontario. From there, obviously, we'll wait for the green light once Team Rubicon has determined where the water is needed most.
There will be a delivery point established. There will be a transportation plan from that delivery point to a community in need, and then whether or not it is synchronizing those deliveries with available aircraft or available delivery, routes, we're assisting in various capacities to just make sure that that is as smooth and as timely as possible.
To date, Labatt has produced over 1 million cans of clean drinking water for those in need, most recently sending 40,000 cans to northern Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Yelich says delivery for this shipment is complicated, but she hopes that the water will make it up north by next week. Corey Nordstrom, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
The Thunder Bay Museum has another new exhibit focusing on a part of Canadian history that greatly affected northwestern Ontario. It's about the Canadian Pacific Railway, entitled Where the Line Was Drawn. It tells the story of how much of a game changer the railway was for the entire region. Located on the 2nd floor of the museum, this exhibit details how the railway became a crucial lifeline when it began construction here in 1875. With a map detailing all of the stops on its journey throughout the area, the CPR line became one of the main transport methods in the region and out to the west. Whereas a cargo ship would take days to weeks to reach its destination, the CPR cut the time considerably. Executive Director of the Thunder Bay Museum, Scott Bradley, says the new railway was important for the economy and people alike.
The development of the Canadian Pacific Railway really was a kind of a big change in how we looked at transportation. It was also a nation-building event. You know, if you were coming from, the lower parts of Canada and the upper part, Upper Canada and Lower Canada at the time, you were really coming by boat through the Great Lakes, which was a long and sometimes dangerous journey. And the railroad really changed that for a lot of people. It changed how we looked at transportation, the transshipment of goods, the movement of people throughout the country. But it also meant that we were going to, kind of change from a place of distant provinces and, the incorporation of a lot of land into the nation of Canada.
The CPR exhibit is expected to remain on display until January. Residents and town officials in Sioux Lookout are expressing shock and disbelief that the community's beer store outlet will be closing its doors in mid-September. It's the third town in Northwest to be targeted for store closure in the past year, and Mayor Doug Lawrence says there was no forewarning from beer store officials. Jonathan Wilson reports.
My neighbor said, "Hey, the beer store is closing." And I said, "I beg your pardon." Couldn't believe it.
Mayor Doug Lawrence says he immediately went online and found the announcement on the beer store's website that 10 more retail outlets around the province would be closing in 2 months, including the only beer store in Sioux Lookout.
I'm very surprised that we didn't have any notice of it, and I've asked around. I think everybody here is surprised, including the retailers who currently sell beer. I would think that there was considerable volume and considerable profit from the beer store here. And I'm not sure why it needs to close precipitously at the expense of people's jobs and perhaps convenience of people and businesses in Sioux Lookout.
The beer store is privately owned by the major brewing companies and has seen its market share drop after the province expanded alcohol sales to convenience stores. Last summer, the beer store closed its outlets in Nipigon and Geraldton, much to the surprise of the mayors of those two communities, and they were unable to get the consortium to keep them open. Lawrence says it's a long way to the next nearest beer store.
Dryden, I assume, still has a beer store. Did yesterday. It's 100 kilometers away, and we have the LCBO sells a limited amount of beer, very limited, I would say, and two retailers in town also sell beer, but not in the kind of quantity that the beer store does, or out of the same kind of facility.
As for the recycling of beer, wine, and liquor bottles, Nipigon and Geraldton have seen community groups start collecting them and bringing them in large quantities to beer stores in other communities and collecting the deposit money to pay for the transportation. Lawrence says there will be other impacts too.
The physical space that the beer store had can't be duplicated overnight, including the recycling, which is huge. And then there's camps and hotels and restaurants that would rely on the beer store too for supply, delivery and supply and return of empties. And I don't know what the plan is. There is no plan. I think it's evolving as we speak.
The beer store closure will take effect on September 14th. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Despite the rainy weather over this past weekend, the annual Buskers Festival went ahead as planned, drawing in thousands of attendees who enjoyed a vibrant mix of live music, street performances, and artistic displays. Emma Chilton reports.
The Bay and Algoma area was alive with music and jaw-dropping performances this weekend as thousands turned out for the annual Buskers Festival. Performers captivated audiences with everything from music performances to fire eating. Buskers Festival coordinator Uriel Lubak says even though the rainfall on Saturday did end the festival at 5 p.m., the event still had a great turnout.
People really came to experience vibrant streets and some awesome talent from out of town and in town until we just got some crazy torrential downpour. And we pretty much called the festival, and then all the vendors left, and there was a smaller nighttime event with our out-of-town performers that we kind of kept going.
Day 2 of the festival started a bit wet from the thunderstorm and delayed the start for about an hour, but once the rain stopped, the event was in full swing. Families lined the streets watching the buskers give their best performances. The festival once again demonstrated the strong appreciation and enthusiastic support the community has for talented street performers. From the large crowds gathered around each act to the generous applause and donations, it was clear that performers hold a place in the hearts of local residents. Emma Chilton, TBT News.
Northern Critters in Need joined forces with PetSmart this past week as a part of the National Adoption Week initiative, where they had new daily additions of cats and dogs. The local animal rescue organization brought in 5 animals to the store yesterday, each ready to find their forever home. Residents had the chance to interact with several cats and dogs and spend time with them to know their personalities and individual needs. Volunteer and coordinator of Northern Critters in Need, Dee Marie, tells us about the animals they currently have available for adoption.
So today we have Rust. He's been in care for a year and a half. Unfortunately, Rust began the beginning part of his life on an outside chain, and he had never been in a house until he came into foster care. So now Rust lives his life happily traveling and napping on couches. He is a wonderful, sweet gentleman. We also have Pistachio and Chestnut, who are part of our Nutty Pup litter. They've been in care since they were under 8 weeks old. They're the sweetest, gentlest girls, and we're hopeful that they can find forever home soon. They're about 8 months old now. They are spayed. Everybody is up to date, vaccinated, and ready to go. And then we also have Mama Samba and her kitten Tango, and they are in the Cat Adoption Center, and they are both available for adoption.
Northern Critters in Need will have 5 more adult cats in their care soon. And if anyone is interested, you can go to their Facebook page for more information.